Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Move for a Movement. I have with me today Ursula Verduzco. She is a New York City-based teaching artist, choreographer, performer, and gyrotonic instructor. So she wears many hats in movement and art, and all-around awesome lady. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ursula.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here and really excited to have a conversation, and in these times where these connections are fantastic to have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, wearing many hats, as I was just saying. Everything that you do, teaching, choreographing, performing, teaching gyro. Would you say that there's a central mission and all of that for you? And if so, how has that evolved over the years? Or is it different in the different spheres of what you do? How does that look for you?
I think it has morphed from the moment I started thinking about myself as a performer and as a dancer. Like many of us, the beginning is all about the challenge of dancing and the beauty of it, and the challenge of building your body in this magical and beautiful tool that you can use to express yourself and be part of a community and be part of the way that people can be touched. So I would say that was pretty much the beginning of how I wanted to be in this field. And little by little, as I grew older and as experiences in performing and choreographing and traveling and teaching and all of that, I feel like by now my mission really is to go back to oneself, to go back to who we are as human beings in this earth, to remember the simple tasks of connecting to oneself through nature, for example, through our own bodies and the physiology that forms who we are. I think that's, at this point, my mission. My mission is to express not only my point of view, but the point of view of others, whether it is by me performing the work of other people or by, for example, choreographing points of view that might not necessarily be mine, but that touch me. And I feel like we can definitely have a much more diverse, inclusive, loving community and world in general by being able to put yourself in the shoes of other people and taking from that. I don't mean stealing from that, but taking from that, sharing with them perspectives, emotions, movement, thoughts, introspection, everything, right? So I think that that's my mission right now, to be able to go back to the internal processes of who we are as human beings and the connection we have with nature, with the world, with the universe. Through that.
Yeah. I'm also hearing in that, I feel like being versus doing. And we do things, and that's important for the world to go forward, but that time and that space to just sit in nature, like you're saying, and just be, and focus back to what unites us, what the common threads that we share, the common humanity. And everything you do as a vehicle for that it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it's we have been trained in a way, and I mean in society, we have been trained to disconnect from ourselves. I really believe that it is an intentional task that to make us not be so connected to each other, not connected to nature, not connected to our feelings, not connected to our bodies. And that's also why I'm saying go back to, because we were there before.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, generations and generations behind us were there. And we've been losing contact with that. And we've been gaining some things, right? We've been gaining some different perspective of life. We've been finding technology that is, helpful. This is the reason why we're here right now and we're able to actually be talking to each other. The reason, the way we have been able to work, a lot of us during this pandemic, through all these platforms that support right now our lives. But at the same time, I feel like there is a huge disconnection to the basic of who we are, to the basic part of who we are. All those connections to nature that living in a city, for example, are very hard to be connected to. But there are ways, and I think that we can definitely go back to that.
And the body as that focal point for that, because there's sort of nothing more organic than our literal flesh and bones and fascia and all that.
Exactly. Totally, exactly that. Because recently through some studies that I've been doing, it's so obvious how we are part of nature. Nature is part of us. We are part of the universe. I mean, just to say that our bodies are a reflection of nature, for example, right? Our organs, our thoughts, our way of connecting. It's a reflection. It's a mirror of the universe, and we don't tend to look at it that way. We're busy with other things. We're busy with a lot of intellect, which is fantastic. I'm all for that. I actually really love that. But then this internal life that we can always grow stays aside. And in our bodies, especially as dancers, we work with the body, right? But we've been taught to work with the body in a very technical way, which has its reasons, and it has a really beautiful challenge to it. But then we're veering, in my perspective, we're veering too far that way. I spent since I was 4 years old dancing, and I pushed really hard to become the dancer that I am today, or the dancer that I was 10 years ago, or the dancer that I think I will be in 10 more years, But all of that has been, especially the past, it has been for these goals, these images that we all create or that are brought to us, that put aside our most internal well-being sometimes. So to find ways to balance that, I think that's also part of my mission, to be able to reconnect with people in this very human way, with dancers in this human way, with audience in a human way, and remember, help each other remember where we're coming from.
It's so beautiful. So yeah, you spoke about starting dance at 4 years old, and the dancer you were 10 years ago, and your sort of journey there. Tell us more about how you came to dance and teaching and gyrotonic, those different threads that we were speaking about. A brief history of your life in movement, if you will.
Yeah, it's been a long road, like also this time in seclusion, let's call it that way, has made me remember a lot of the places I've been, the people I've met, the memories I have. Yeah, I started dancing when I was 4 years old. I come from a family of artists. My mom is an actress. My father is an actor and a musician, a singer. And my brother, even though he didn't decide to pursue an artistic career, he's incredibly talented artistically. So um, there was always music in my home. There was always music all the time. You know, my father was always playing the guitar and rehearsing. The Beatles were literally blasting every Sunday, every weekend in my home. You know, the Mamas and the Papas and all those really, for us, really old groups. But so I had a really beautiful childhood in terms of that. It was always a pleasure, you know, to hear classical music and be in touch with the artistic expressions. And my mom and dad decided to put me in a ballet class, and then the rest is sort of history because I couldn't stop out, you know, after that. You know,
Mm.
I remember my first performance where I was 4, and I wasn't aware that there was a career, a professional career for dancers. I did not know that. But I do remember finishing that performance and knowing that that was it. That was
Mm.
what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, that feeling I wanted to keep in my life, that it had felt like I was a fish in the sea, right in my element and right where I love being. And so I've been following that path for all this time. Um, I was in the National School of Dance in Mexico, and then and I went through different schools in Mexico before I decided to come to the States.
Mm.
And I spent some time in Austin, Texas, in El Paso, and then eventually coming here to New York, where I was really lucky, and I'm so thankful to have had a scholarship for the Joffrey Ballet School, when the Joffrey Ballet School was still connected with the company.
Mm.
The company
Mm.
was still um, here. So after that, you know, freelancing a lot, working with a lot of different companies around the city. Um, and that pretty much has been my life as a performer, you know, like just project by project, going here and going there. Recently, I say recently because it feels like yesterday, but it's really, it's really more like in the last 3-4 years, I started traveling and performing in other places, and that has been just really fantastic. So as a dancer, you know, the path has been long. It's you know, I've gone through talking about that feeling of coming back to yourself. I feel like I've gone from the the effort and the challenge of becoming a dancer to the feeling finally good in it, to the challenge of going through injuries and surgeries and things like that happens to all of us eventually. Well, not all of us, but a lot of us eventually. And recuperating from all of that, pushing forward again. And then through all these challenges, you start realizing how, you know, success or success is not a linear thing, right? And it's even now it's hard for me to talk about the word success, because I don't necessarily think about success in the same way that I did when, you know, I don't know, 10 years ago, right? But it was, you know, success was important to me at some point. And
Mm.
through all this um, living, going through life, uh, you start realizing how, you know, life just goes up and down, and it really is more like a spiral. You know, it's really just a continuation of many things that take you sometimes to places that are similar, but you have to sort of look at it hopefully from a different perspective and find new ways. Choreographically, I started choreographing in 2009, which was sort of a really fantastic and very organic way of starting to choreograph.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't looking to be a choreographer. One day I just had something really important that I needed to say. It
Mm-hmm.
just came out. And then from there on, I couldn't stop. And in a way, I feel like my choreographic career has had a life of its own, because even though I, of course, have put the effort and the research and the looking into things and opportunities, for the most part, I'm thankful that they have come to me. Again, not without an intention from my part, but they have come, which is also really different from how my dance career has developed. It's interesting how sometimes you push so hard for something, and in the same way, it's very hard to come. And for other things, you don't necessarily push at all, and they just flow to you.
Mm-hmm.
That is a learning for me. It has been a learning for me for these past years since I started choreographing. With Gyrotonic, I started teaching in 2003, and I got into learning and doing Gyrotonic with my body probably 2001. And like everything, it was curiosity, right? And investigation. How can I build my life as a mover, as a dancer? How can I progress? How can I understand? How can I bring all my capabilities to its fullest potential? And so that's how I started in Gyrotonic, and I was very blessed also to be to be helped really by a wonderful master trainer at that time, Bill Hedberg, who helped me by teaching me, by getting me through the introduction of what teaching would be, right? And then after that, there have been many people that I've been training with, and eventually I became a teacher, and I've been able to teach myself for all these years. I think it's 16 years already, something like that, which is incredible, because right now that we are in this situation, right, in this not being able to work the way we used to work before, reinventing yourself in all these ways, as a dancer, as a choreographer, as a gyrotonic teacher, it has been incredible. I'm so thankful for my gyrotonic practice and my gyrotonic teaching, because this is one of the ways that I've been able to, be good, put food in the table, pay the rent, and all that stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Teaching it's an amazing mirror, I would say. Teaching dance, teaching anything.
I love that, teaching as a mirror, because something that's always fascinated me about teaching, whatever you might teach, is how you learn, perhaps just as much as you teach, because it is that mirror, and you can see yourself, see what's behind you, see what's around you in that mirror. So I love that analogy. I hadn't heard that before, but I love that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's a lot to learn from what we call students. Because I consider myself a student when I'm teaching. This pandemic has taught me so much about how to teach. This platform that we're using right now, forces you to speak differently, to engage in a different way, to put intention in different things than when we are beside each other. So it's been really interesting.
For sure. It's a whole new world.
It is.
Yeah. I'm curious, speaking of those different threads, do you feel that they inform each other, or do they intersect in different ways? For instance, are you a better choreographer because you teach gyro? Are you a better performer because you choreograph? Um, yeah, do those things come together in those ways for you?
Yes,
Or
I
not?
yeah, no, in my case, definitely yes. I
Mm,
can
mhm,
totally see how everything is informing each other. I think um, definitely, for example, my choreography has a lot of spirals and
mm, mhm,
rotations and waves and three-dimensional perspective, for example. That definitely comes from my experience, my knowledge, my enjoyment of what I do as a gyrotonic teacher. My dance definitely, is totally has changed after becoming a teacher. The way that I take care of my body, the way that I prepare myself for class or for performance, the way that I live my life in general, Um, yes, I think when we are able to open up to different perspectives, different studies, different ways of living, different people, everything that we do gets enriched.
mm,
We might not necessarily notice right away, but when we look back, when we have the moment and the introspection to look back, we can certainly see how one thing affected the other, or how it informed the other.
right.
Um, so yes, definitely, in movement, in ways of thinking, in ways of feeling, in allowing myself to feel, you know, in allowing myself to be. One thing that is super important for me right now, that I am putting a lot of intention into it, is breath.
Mm,
And
mhm,
it isn't without breath that we exist, right? That's it. That sums it all, right? If we
right.
don't breathe, we are not here. And we are not the only ones that breathe. I mean, the universe is breathing with us, and nature is breathing with us. Um, so, in this time of teaching this way, through Zoom, for example, through this type of platform, I have noticed how much my breath has changed. And
Mm,
because
mhm,
since I am constantly doing the work as I teach it, to show it, to guide, then I am breathing the same way that I am asking another person to breathe. So
mhm,
the expansion of my lung capacity, for example, has changed a lot. And I
wow.
noticed
Mhm,
that what are the benefits for that in my life? You know,
mhm,
what are the
mhm,
benefits of that when I teach? What are the benefits of that when I dance or when
right.
I choreograph? My way of thinking changes. I am more
Mm,
clear, I am more present. So it's the little
mm,
things that I can see how they connect, and the big things too, which is really, really beautiful. It's the
right.
detail and the big picture at the same time.
Yeah, I personally, I firmly believe no time or no moment is ever wasted, even if we feel like we've lost in some way, if we can learn something.
Yeah,
So these different things that we do in our life can inform each other and can enrich each other if we can learn from them and carry that learning somewhere else.
absolutely. Yeah, I feel like this pandemic is an example, a perfect example of that. I honestly feel we have an amazing opportunity, all of us, to um, take a moment and recognize where is it that we have been, where is it that we are right now, where is it where we want to go, and also see the connections between all of that,
Mm, mhm,
um,
totally.
and finding ways to notice, for example, patterns of behavior. I'm talking about that because, just being incredibly busy, for example, and suddenly not, makes you live in a different way, makes you think in a different way, makes you take time in a different way. There's a lot more slowness in everyday life compared to what it was before, at least for me. And I'm kind of liking it.
Love it.
I'm liking this time for myself, this different pace of life. And now the trick is to figure out how to live in a world that doesn't necessarily want us to do that, right? And how to make ends meet, be productive, but not from the productive stereotype. And I think it's possible. That's part of my mission on my quest right now.
I love it. Yeah. How to do, but also be in a world that kind of just wants you to do all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a challenge.
It is, absolutely.
Mm.
I think if we allow ourselves to have this time, that it seems it's not stopping very, very soon. Right? So it's like, wow, if I want to look at all of this with the utmost positivity, then I would have to give thanks for this time.
Right.
And this time and this opportunity to look at things in a different way.
It's a whole lot of pain out there, but what can we learn? What silver threads can come out of it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You spoke about traveling internationally and choreographing. I would love to hear more about that. From what I know, you taught in Mexico, Cuba, some other countries. I am curious about what you've learned and speaking of learning and in that informing everything else we do, what have you been able to bring to your work from those experiences? How has it changed you as a person, if at all, and as an artist? Yeah, if you could speak to that.
Wow. Well, I can tell you that where I am right now, it's thanks to the fact that I started traveling. Traveling gives you a lot of perspective and a lot of a lot of perspective, a lot of introspection if you allow it. It's amazing to be able to just go out of your comfort zone, of your environment, and just give yourself the opportunity to learn from other people, to experience other people. Mainly, I've been traveling to Mexico and Cuba specifically, but both places are dear to me. Mexico because it's my home country, and I've been so thankful to be able to go back for different reasons, either teaching, performing, or choreographing, and to go back to my roots, go back to my land, the land that I was born into, and really, again, look at my land, that territory, from a different perspective, from the time that I left. I left when I was 19 years old. So the ideas that I was living in, the ideas in my head, the intentions I had, the dreams that I wanted, all of that has transformed in many, many ways, thanks to the fact that I've been able to be here, be there. But recently I've been able to go back to perform, which has been amazing, just to enjoy other dancers, that do things the same, but a little different, and or work with a choreographer that, you know, the passion is there. Like every choreographer has its passion for their vision, but the language, the movement, it's different.
Mhm.
And
Right.
so that is really such a wonderful opportunity. In Cuba, I mean, honestly, it has been one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. I've gone already 4 times between performing and choreographing. I've done 2 works for Danza Libre, which is a company in Guantanamo, Cuba.
Mm.
And the way that I've been able to connect with Cuban people has been, for me, an amazing thing. I feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe in another life I was Cuban or African or something like that, because the music, the drums, the warmth, the heat, you know, it's like I feel like I am in my element. I cannot
Mm.
wait to go back whenever there's a chance to go back, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and yes, I think part of what traveling has done for me is, again, putting myself in a mirror where you can look at yourself and putting balance or in perspective where you are, where you want to be, what are the things that are important to you, how can you get there, and are you willing to sacrifice certain things in order to be where you want, not
Mm.
not without pain or not without effort, but is it worth it to be where
Mhm.
you want? It totally is, you know,
Mhm.
totally is. I think it's different for every person, but I think it's important that we all look for the truth that is inside of us and we follow it. And I think traveling has helped me realize what my truth is.
Mm. Yeah, and you're in a different, literal different environment, a different place, and in your body, and those moments for reflection and what changes when your outer environment changes, leading you back to what is still there in your body.
Yes. Yes, and you know, you have, I mean, there are signs that I think the situation, the world, the moment gives you that tells you, yes, you're going okay. Like this is right. Like you feel good. Keep going, you know? And so to be able also to listen to those moments and observe your environment and the little hints that life gives you is fantastic. It's really good.
Hmm.
There
I
have
love
been a
it.
lot of those in places
Mm.
like Cuba, for example, and Mexico.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, you mentioned that you came to the U.S. at 19, and just from knowing your story, you went through some incredible struggles, just making it work, for lack of a better term, to say the cliche, as a young immigrant artist. Putting your name out there, freelancing, that's hard enough as it is, and then you add in the hoops that immigration in this country puts up for you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'm curious if that's something that's important to you to put those experiences out there, if that's something that you do as an artist, and if in a larger view, why is that important to put those sorts of voices out there, those sorts of experiences. I personally believe it is, but just to hear your view on that.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, definitely the path has been challenging. At the same time, it has been an incredible adventure. I mean,
Mm.
I never, when I was 19 and decided to come, I never imagined all of this. I
Mm.
was so naive even about my decision to come. You know, it was one of those moments where I just burst into, I'm going, you know? I'm just gonna make it happen. And wow, I mean, I I wasn't really in the consciousness of what that meant.
Mm.
You know, not even a teeny, not even a little, you know. But it has been an amazing adventure. It really has been such a wonderful, wonderful experience in many ways, even in the ways that have been the most challenging, you know, from traveling with like no money, just auditioning from city to city, meeting people, getting injured in the way, you know, figuring out ways to work.
Right.
You know, I am incredibly thankful, of course, you know, to so many people. It would be so difficult to name everyone, you know, but they're all in my heart, all in my heart, because, and I'm so thankful and appreciative of the huge middle or little part of what they gave me and through all this time. You know, it's been amazing. um, yes, it's from coming as a tourist to getting a student visa to getting a work permit to finally getting a residency. It's been a long time. And, you know, I still feel like we here in this country, we need to value a lot more what we already say we value.
Right.
Right? It should not be from my mouth out only. There are a lot of things that need to be supported, be congruent, because it is not like that right now. We are a country of diversity, and in reality, that is the strength of this territory. Understanding at the same time that this territory was taken from people that were here before us, people that were massacred, people that hurt, people that suffered, women, children, men, animals, nature. And so by acknowledging that, I mean, we are not in that situation, we're not in that moment in time, but we are in a moment in time where we can, if we're interested, be able to find justice for people that need it. This territory, it's an amazing territory for many, many reasons. You know, we have ancestors in this territory that feed us the soul of this earth, this soil. And in general, we are not acknowledging them. It's almost, I think, without acknowledging what has been, without acknowledging the role in those people's hurt, there is no healing for anybody.
Right.
And us that came here afterwards are still participants of what is happening.
Right.
You know, if we were born, if anybody that has been born here afterwards, it's still a participant at this point of what is going on. Me as an immigrant, I'm a participant of what is going on. And I think that until we give respect and an acknowledgement to all the original indigenous communities of the world, humanity won't heal. And we have a lot to heal.
Yeah.
But I really believe that is, of course, it's not, I don't really think it's in the interest of the powerful to have that happen. So it is up to us. And as a friend of mine mentioned the other day, he was talking about how he didn't think that the change or the fight was in the street, for example, right? And this is his perspective. He was thinking that the change and the help comes from within first, and from what he calls spiritual activism. And I love the term he used because it actually makes you take responsibility first here, right? And then we can go to the street, and then we can do many things, and then we can organize, and then we can, be there for what's needed. But without that internal spiritual activism, my friend David Eisen's words, there's no healing for all of us. So that's, I think that's really important to me. I look at my beginning times in this country, and I am so thankful for so many things. I've been able to flower in my career. I've been able to experience things that at the time I couldn't do in my country. I've been able to meet so many wonderful people and have all these connections and experiences and friends and colleagues. And, I learned to be an adult in this country. I learned to work in this country. I learned to take care of myself, right? To be independent. And I think that, the way this country is built allow me to do what I love. And I'm forever grateful for that. And at the same time, let's get to work, because it is not enough, It is not enough.
So talk about just that for ages. I feel like there's so much rich stuff there that you said, but I was really struck by, you put it in the present tense of, so participants in what is happening. We took this land from indigenous people, and then economically it was built on the backs of enslaved Africans, right? But that's not past tense in a certain way, that that oppression is still there. Like, reservations are still the highest rates of everything bad are there. And we don't really even acknowledge the Native people who are still here and support them. And what we do to Black people in this country, that's a whole other conversation. That there was that uprising this summer, and this separation of word and deed, right? We can say we believe in diversity and that builds our strength, but does that play out in action, right? And you're saying that now's the time. And I do see that in some ways starting to happen, but it's a slow process, and the pain is there every day.
Yeah, I think the comforts that we live in makes us forget what other people are living.
Right.
The poverty in this country is really different than poverty in India or in Africa, right?
Right.
It is still poverty, and people should not live in poverty. This world has everything to not have people in poverty, right?
Mhm.
but it's still happening.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I really believe that, yes, it is happening right now in many and different ways. And the only option, if we choose to go there, is to take responsibility for oneself and start from
Mhm.
that. All this,
Right.
all this comforts that I'm talking about really stops us from looking around, looking at the other, figuring out how he or she is. I mean, it's really easy just to go home and put the TV on and forget about the world.
Yeah.
It's super easy to just, buy the new gadget and forget about the fact that somebody has nothing to eat. Right?
Mm.
It's very easy to feel righteous about enjoying the money we earn because it's hard work.
Right.
How do we spend it?
Mhm.
And in what? And we give that money to who?
Mhm.
I really feel like if we decided to choose who we give our money to, we would make a lot of change in this world.
Mm.
Whoever wants that money, whoever is in need for that money, whoever is using that money would have to bend to our intentions, our needs, because if not, we would not give them our hard-earned money, right? And this is another thing that, for me personally in this pandemic has been such a learning curve. How do I spend my money? Where do I give it? Who do I give it to? What is important? What is necessary? What is it that I really need?
Mhm.
And there, I circle around now to what we were talking at the beginning about the mission, right? Because what do I really need becomes very important, but it's not that big. It's not that a huge list of things, right? It's really going
Absolutely.
back to who you are. It's
Mhm.
really going back to who you are in your core, in your most internal
Mm.
being.
Spiritual activism that you mentioned. And I totally agree. I think both are necessary. This standing up for this is what we believe is right in a coalition, in a group of people, to assert that voice. But also each of us does need to look inside and they ask those questions that you were mentioning, especially those in power, like, why am I acting this way, and why do I feel the need to have this power and do the, and coming back to those essential things of, well, we're all united, we're all human. I don't need that, I don't need to do that, I can share this, I can share that. Asking those essential questions. I totally
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, absolutely.
And you spoke about being so easy to not see the pain that is there, and 100%. And I think that is one thing that art can offer, is opening our eyes in those ways. And there's even research out there that it's sort of, art can be this back door, art and storytelling, and it can sort of put down defenses to be able to hear and to see in different ways, different stories and things that are there. So,
Yeah.
broken record for me that, all of that is art, and in so many ways it's so important. More
Yeah.
than ever, now we need it.
Yes, absolutely. And I was thinking that, we see, for example, dance, right? We see dance in this, because we're dancers, because we're professional in our field, we see dance as not only our career, but this conjunction of requirements that make it be an art form, technique, and I don't know, many, many things, right? But when we think about dance, for example, before we think about dance as an art form, I think it's very, very important to think about dance as this primitive, personal connection, again, to the universe and to nature, to ourselves, for that matter, right? Because then we don't lose the perspective of what we do. Then we can connect with it and create this art form that is based in something solid. Not the image on Instagram, not the, not the image in the magazine or the idea of success in the field, but really creating the art form from a base. And the base is who we are. The base is what we're made of. From the physicality of it, from the physiology of it, to the emotion, to the mental processes. I don't think we can create, personally, I don't think we can create art any other way.
I agree. I love it. At least not intentional art. It can be art that's not intentional.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. I think we've been talking for about an hour at this point. So to wind down, what can audience members follow, support, look forward to from you as a creative and a teacher?
Well, I have to say that this time Inside has brought amazing things to my life in many, many other ways. I've been able to, start some studies on ecosomatic, ritualistic. It's a really beautiful path. I've been able to start some studies in healing through voice, sound. I've been able to write so much more. I've been able to meditate and also take care of plants that you can see.
Yeah, so great.
New thing for me, so I'm still learning, and I probably will learn forever, but it's a beautiful thing. So I'm saying that because I really find myself right now going through an opening, where my dance, the way that I want to go through life, which is dancing and choreographing and teaching, is being informed with many other different beautiful things. And I really want to start finding different ramifications of the things I love. And it's a lot. I think we artists are, and I want this, and I want this, and I want that, and I want that, and I want this. And so there's so many things that I am interested in, but definitely part of my intention is to be able to eventually come back to performing in a theater. We're all missing that. We deep in our hearts, we know that's going to happen eventually, but we ache for it. And so, yes, continue working with people that inspire me, companies that inspire me, choreographers that inspire me. I keep having this need to move in the way other people see and vision. It informs my life, it informs my body, it informs my soul. In terms of choreography, right now I'm working on 2 different projects. One is a small documentary about the last work that I did for Danza Libre in Cuba. I made a piece called Como el ave fénix, like the phoenix bird. So I'm with the help of some people, I'm creating a small 30-minute documentary about how that happened. And also I'm working very slowly with another piece that it's a group of women, and the theme is about maternity and the choices we have or not to have a baby at some point in our lives. All, you know, as women, we all go through that eventually. We all have it in our heads. We all have to choose or not. We all have to make choices. We, you know, so the piece is about that, and it's on video, and hopefully it will come out soon. I've been taking too long to make this happen. Really, really. I mean, because first of all, it's a lot of women, and also because of the logistics of working like this, right? And also because, you know, like I said, this time has been of doing things slowly, and that's where I am. And teaching, well, teaching, my gyrotonic practice, I've been opening it more to the world in a way. My intention is, I think these platforms of teaching from far away can be fantastic, and I think it can definitely be something that we can keep for the future, even when things open up. This idea of being able to teach somebody in Singapore, for example, is amazing, right? And so in my personal practice, I am trying to, you know, get my gyrotonic, my gyrokinesis business more broad. And as a dance teacher, it's super important for me to connect with people, and hopefully, you know, I'll be able to keep working with many people, many dancers, many students, ballet, contemporary, everything and all.
Love it. I love it all. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom. You have so much wisdom to offer. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Please like, subscribe. We'll put all Ursula's information so you can follow her and keep abreast of everything she's doing, the awesome stuff. And
thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the talk. Thank you for the space to talk about and have a nice chat. And thank you to everybody that is watching, and keep in touch.
Yeah, definitely. Keep in touch for sure. We'll talk to you soon. See you soon, everyone. Bye-bye.